This is my very, very first episode of Hidden Gems. I am so excited. It is Natasha Parker, your host. Hidden Gems is the type of podcast that I want people to come if they are feeling stuck, if they want a new avenue, they need some inspiration. So this podcast is going to have successful people on there, stuck people, and how they navigate through it. So we're going to learn about the world of television because I worked in it for, let's say, 10-ish years. I worked in TV. This first episode, I am so happy to have one of my dearest friends, Shelby Jacobs, on with me. She has been a guiding light in her own beautiful, amazing way. We were roommates in college, and I don't know if we would have ever met otherwise, and that's why life is just so beautiful, and it is such a beautiful journey. I'm from Chicago, and then my parents moved to Michigan. Shelby's from Michigan. I decided to work in television. Shelby decided to go the route of marketing. So everyone, welcome Shelby Jacobs.
Hey, sorry, I had to get the mic on, you know.
Yeah. Hi. I mean, this is my first episode, and so you guys got to bear with me, but I am hopefully, and maybe Shelby will have herself on this podcast multiple times, because outside of my family, Shelby probably knows me better than anyone, I think, or just we've been through so much over the years. My first impression of her was, damn, this girl has long hair. She had hair down to her butt.
Miss that hair.
Yeah, that was some good hair, girl. And we shared like a studio. It was a dorm room, but it was like a studio, and we had 2 beds in it. And we both were super emo. Very emo people. We loved Maroon 5, A Fine Frenzy.
I don't think that's what people think of when they hear the word emo, but I love that.
I love you. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And your career's a journey. We have been through many things, and basically we're going to go through it and how we ended up here. I think that's what people want to know. How did I end up here doing this podcast with you right now? So, college life. I knew that I wanted to work in television, so I went to a performing arts school. We went to Columbia College. It's a performing arts school in Chicago. And I got a camera in my hand immediately, the moment I could. And I was a writing major. What was your major?
Marketing. Very odd for an art school.
Marketing.
But AO.
But it worked. And the good thing about this school, Columbia College, a lot of our alumni, we worked in what we said we were going to do. I have friends that were music majors. They are working in music. People who were photography majors. One of my best friends is a photographer from school, and he is thriving and doing really great. Mm-hmm. One of my friends from college did my cover art, Bradley Murray. He's amazing. So I do not have rich parents, so I went to school full-time and I worked full-time. And that was very, very hard. My first year, I didn't have to. I just focused on school, but it was very hard to do that. And but we did it, And then after school, working in television, I realized, okay, what to do. All of my teachers were like, if you really want to work in this game, you really want to do this thing, you got to move to LA, or you got to move to New York, or if you can stay in Chicago and work in news if you want to do that. My aunt was working in news, and I was like, I don't know if that's for me. So I said, great, let's go crazy. Let's move to LA. So I moved to LA. I didn't know what I was going to do when I lived in LA. And I got I moved in with my friend's sister, and it was a 2-bedroom, and there were 5 girls living there. So the whole stigma that people say about LA and people living on top, it's true.
It is.
It's a thing. It happens. We go to LA to make it, and we go to LA to live on top of each other.
To suffer a little.
Truly. Yeah. I lived on a couch for a good year. When I first lived there, I was so used to working so much. So I wanted this internship. At the time, this was Shondaland, Grey's Anatomy, Private Practice. We were television, all of my Grey's fans out there. I every day I looked forward to that cry, or every week I looked forward to that cry. It was a good cry. And so I interviewed for an ABC internship and I wanted it. I wanted it because I was like, I'm the next Shonda Rhimes. I was a writing major. I'm going to
You
do
were
this.
set on it
Yes,
day one.
I was so ready.
I was gonna say I'd never met anyone in school in the marketing arm who every day was watching television shows every second outside of class. Every second outside of class, could quote everything, knew every actor's name, knew every television network. So that was really, really fun to have those wires crossed, because otherwise I would have had no connection to it at all.
Yeah. I am kind of that way. When I get into something, I study it like the back of my hand and I want to know everything. So yes, so I was like, oh, ABC. I was so excited. I remember telling my mom, like, I'm going to get this internship. It was in development. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be developing shows for ABC. I was so excited. It was a paid internship as well, which I must say, which is like, the creme de la creme. I needed to support myself. So while I was in college, I was working at Burberry, and then I ended up as like a salesperson, and then when I moved to LA, that was like my easy way to like get money. So I became a manager at a Burberry store. And as a manager, I had to work a certain amount of days. This internship was like, we need you 3 to 4 days. And I had to work at my other job also. And they were like, no, we need you here at least 5 days. So I only had 2 days to allocate towards an internship. Long story short, I did not get the ABC internship, and I was very, very sad about it. I I cried. Like I was sending emails. I was like just driving by the lot. Like I was so sad. But then I ended up getting an internship at Paramount for the Doctors television show. It's a talk show. And I was like, talk. I don't want to work in talk, but I need an internship. So
you wanted to tell the stories.
Right? Yeah, I wanted to tell the stories. And I was like, oh, these people are crazy. But also I'm really like, I'm a curious person. I wanted to know, and I really wanted to know what was going on in health, right? So the Doctors was also, it was a very informative show, and I ended up loving it. And the gem here for this LA move, and when you don't necessarily get when something doesn't happen for you and you're really sad, and when they say everything happens for a reason, it's very true, because I had an internship. It was a 3-month internship. After 1 month, it was unpaid, by the way. Let me say that. After 1 month, I got hired because the receptionist left, and I got hired. I got a job. And I was like, wait, what? Mind you, there were 20 interns there. So the gem here is, I don't know that I would have gotten hired at ABC if I would have gotten that job, number one. That's one gem. 2, dress the part. So as I said, I was working at Burberry. I was coming into my internship in full-blown suits. I was coming in Burberry freaking suits. I came for business, okay? The only other person that wore suits was the executive producer, Andrew Scher. He would come in, rocking it, doing his thing. And all the other, no shade to the other interns, but they would come in like, holy jeans, shorts, whatever. If you're listening to this and you're looking for a new job, dress up. Like, dress up. If you want a promotion, dress up. I know it sounds crazy, but for me, that has been such a big part of every single job that I've gotten, the way that I have dressed. I'm not saying that you have to obviously wear a $700 suit, but dress for the job, like they said, dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned from you over the years is you have outfits that stand out and are your own personal style. And sometimes I'm like, I don't even know how you stepped foot out wearing that, because it's just like a whole vision, a mural on a person. But it's so you. And I think it's like this visual personality that you put out there is the conversation starter in so many situations, especially in like creative industries and entertainment industry. Like,
yes,
there's a billion people in a room. You have to do something besides just like hound someone and walk up to them and like try and say the right thing. You have to look the part at all times, because you don't know who you're going to meet. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned from watching you over the years.
Yeah. And I think that also, being a Black woman, where you go into these spaces and no matter what, you stick out because not a lot of people look like you, right? So am I going to be the person that comes in with the holy pants, or am I going to be the person who comes in, stands out, and still looks put together? Do you know what I mean? It's not about, like I said, wearing a very expensive thing. It's about being put together. Did you put effort in? And what this guy told me, or what the Andrew, who's the executive producer at the time, who hired me for the receptionist position, he said, why don't we just hire the intern that dresses so well? Literally, his assistant told me that. And I was like,
I'm ready to go.
So, yeah. And this was my first job in the industry. So I was like, oh, I got to do it. So that's the gym, dress the part. Also, the beautiful thing about knowing, trusting the process. Good thing I did not get the ABC job, because guess who else I met when I was working at the doctors on my very, very first job? Julie LaPlaca. Julie LaPlaca. And the reason why that name is so familiar for some people is because Julie LaPlaca is the producer on The Bachelor, which we'll get to, that got me on the show. Hence, all makes things together. And she's one of my best friends as well, someone who I've known for 10 years now. And she is the whole reason why I went on the show. If I would not have went on the show without her. So it's crazy. It's wild. Okay. Transition. After getting that job, I got the receptionist job. Then I became a PA. I started playing this game I started learning like, oh wait, this is what you have to do to move up. Obviously I didn't want to be a receptionist the whole time. I wanted to work in television. So while I'm here, let's see what I can do. We're working on the Paramount lot. There's so many inspiring things. There's movies being filmed. There's actors walking around. You're like, wait, oh my God. There's so many things happening every single day. It's super duper exciting. You get to come in and you get to walk. I have these badges because obviously I'm a dork and I kept all my badges, but I have this badge. I don't know if you guys can see that. This is my Paramount badge. I had this little bun. Ugh, I was so excited. And this is my Dr. Phil season 11. I don't remember which season I started actually, but I worked there for a few different seasons. But I still have this badge. And by the way, on the Paramount lot, people would rent out these different spaces and these different stages. Like there was once I went to a Lil Wayne birthday party. We snuck in to a Lil Wayne birthday party because we heard through the grapevine that Lil Wayne was having a birthday party on the lot. And me and my girlfriend were like, wait, should we sneak in? So we sneak in and it was so much fun. It was later on that night. And so you get access. Like I'm telling all the tea right now. Yep. This was the crazy stuff we were doing. You get access to the lot at any time because sometimes we will be at work till, 2 a.m, depending on what is happening, right? So we sneak into this party and Lil Wayne's there, Baby, Nicki Minaj, and Drake had just came out. And Lil Wayne was like, in the crowd hanging out. Paris Hilton was there. It was so many fabulous people there. I actually probably have a photo of this that I can post or show you guys on my Instagram. Anyways, but Lil Wayne was like out with everyone, and Drake and Nicki Minaj were in the VIP area, and like no one was in the VIP area. Everyone was hanging out. And I remember Lil Wayne saying to me, they don't know how to be famous yet. You know me? I've been famous since I was like 13. Like they don't know how to be famous yet. So they up there. They over there being crazy. I was like, it was so funny. Anyways, back to this. Dr. Phil. Working on so I ended up transitioning. I became a PA. Then I was like, you know what? I was looking at my boss, this woman, Nicole is great. And we have the same birthday, actually. Her name is Nicole Petroshock. We have the same birthday. Loved her. But I just didn't want her job. And I think that that's also a gem when you're in the work field or when you're feeling stuck. It's like, look forward. Look at your boss. Is that the job that you want in 5 years, 2 years, 3 years? Like, is it? I don't know. And after, you have to get in it and you have to learn and you have to see if it's something that you want to do. Try everything. I always say that. Try everything. You don't know what you want to do? Try everything. And that's what I was doing in television. I'm like, I know I want to work in television, but I don't know exactly what. So let's try everything. So I knew I didn't want to be her after being a PA for so long. So I was like, maybe I want to work on the stage. One of the stage managers, Christopher, was one of my like besties, loved him. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go over to the stage. Started working in talent. After I worked in talent, I was like, wait a second. This is so much fun. This is great. But I got to work on the Doctors and the Dr. Phil show. And the people on the Dr. Phil show, the talent was so crazy. There were, I mean, I could do a whole podcast on the talent that came through the Dr. Phil show. There was a girl who ran away once, literally ran away. She left the stage and ran out. We had to find her. It was so, like, there was so much crazy stuff. There was this guy who came on, his like wife had left him and he came with his 3 kids and like, you know, we're talent. So we're like working with all these people and there's one room, there's like 3 rooms, so the talent rooms, and the kids, someone said that they had lice. And we were like, wait, are we going to have to do the whole, are we going to have
studio audience?
De-lice the room? Like what? The kid did not end up having lice, but we were on high alert. We were like Googling stuff. Like, you have to do so much crazy stuff. Dr. Phil gets a bad rap, but he is actually a really, really intense, awesome, no bullshit person. You look at him and he can just call bullshit in 2 minutes. He'll be like, bullshit. But it was a very interesting time working there. But then I was like, you know what? I don't want to join the union and become a stage manager. So now I need to move around. So after I left Paramount, I decided, all right, guys, let's go to live television. So I started working in live TV. And live TV was really great because there was no after the fact. There was always just the pre-production, the production, and now we're done. We got to get out. But obviously the pre-production was so much more intense because we can't have any mistakes. There's no mistakes. No mistakes. There's always mistakes. So I have some of these badges here from some of the things that I did. Okay, so Teen Nick Halo Awards. That was really fun. That says, 11/17/2013. And these are things that, you know, in the television business, you become freelance. So I was a freelancer and you go from job to job to job and you hope that whoever your boss is, the production manager or the producer, whoever hires you onto their next gig because these people are getting gigs all the time. Some of these jobs are 2-day jobs. Some of these jobs are a week job. It's very, very crazy. Oh my gosh, guys. Okay. So this MTV badge, I did MTV Unplugged. I remember, so this badge, it says 1413. My birthday is 4/13. And I just remember being like, Miley, Cyrus, and Madonna. Unplugged. That's what I worked on.
This is early Miley.
Oh yeah, this is early Miley. And so I was a talent coordinator and we would have to do the different talent trailers. So we get a writer. So when you are talent and you go on a show or anything like that, your management sends it's called a rider. They send it in and they say, hey, we need all these things in their dressing room. Something that was on Miley's rider was like a gallon of Malibu, like the alcohol. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, what? And the writers sometimes are so crazy. You're just like, what? I have this other one, the Breakthrough Awards. This was Kevin Spacey. I was doing talent for them too. Kevin Spacey and Lana Del Rey. Lana Del Rey needed a hot latte every hour. Literally was going to Starbucks. I said, you know what? I'm gonna go and get 4 lattes. I'm gonna reheat these reheat them. They're gonna be fresh. What? I'm not gonna keep going to Starbucks. Starbucks was like 10 minutes away. And we were like, every time we gotta go every hour. Like, this is crazy.
Gotta be efficient.
So sorry, Lana. But also, by the way, these writers, they don't make them up. Like, I'm so the people don't make them up. The talent, it's their team. When we were shutting down Miley's room and for the show, that Malibu wasn't even open. She didn't even have not even a drink of it, not even a shot of it. You know, I took that Malibu home. That's the other part about. By the way, that's the other part that's so great about working in television. When you buy all this stuff, you got to put all this stuff together. And then it's just like it's paid for. It's done. Like, who's going to take this home? I've taken so many things home. When I worked at the doctor's, oh my God, the sex toys, they would send us so many sex toys because they want them to be featured on the show and they wanted to talk about this and talk about that. I had so many products. I mean, it's like being an influencer now, you know, being a content creator. It's crazy. So live shows were amazing. It was really great. I really, really enjoyed it. One of the best days that I had was this day. It was the International Jazz Day in Washington, D.C. I was there for 4 days, and I met Michelle Obama. And I said, my life is complete. My life. Like, when you work in television, you can't be this like, oh my God, that's blah, blah, blah. You know, you have to be professional, right? And people ask all the time, like, who's this person? Who's this? Like, who's your person that you'd like freak out over? Honestly, every single person that I would think that I would freak out over, I met them and I didn't freak out because I was like, I'm professional. When I met Michelle, I was like, hi, hello, how are you? And then I was like, she is a vision. And like, obviously Barack was the president at the time and I was like, what's up? You know, like, Chi-Town, what's up? You know, it's Michelle for me. You know, I was so like, oh. So being at the White House is it's a big experience for sure. Lot of fun. Yeah. I think it's like all of these things, I've had all of these experiences and I've just never, obviously it happened a long time ago. I don't live in the past. So that's why this episode is so important for, I think, listeners to hear, because obviously people know the things with The Bachelor and blah, blah, blah. But before that, how we got here, woo, it was a lot. So, so the gem with that, I want to bring it back to that. The gem with that is always look ahead. Always ask yourself, do I want this job? Where would this lead? You know, when you're looking at a trajectory and you're in the career fields, when you're in the corporate world, there's always a trajectory. You know, there's manager, director, da, 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 you know what I mean? Blah, 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 blah. Do I want that position? Am I working towards that position? Is this just a job for the moment? Is there something else that I want to be doing, right? So you have to learn, I think, to play that corporate game.
Was freelancing for live shows, what was kind of your goal for that? Was it to network and try? Were you doing different roles while you were freelancing?
So when I freelanced, my goal was to meet people. I realized very quickly in LA specifically, it's all about who you know. If you're going to get a chance, if you're going to have any moment, you need to know people and people need to know your work ethic. And also, I just thought it was cool. I was like, oh my gosh, working on award shows, doing this, doing that, like that would be really cool. So networking was a big, big part of it. I was mainly doing PA work. And when you're a PA, you can be a PA for any and everything. One live show that I worked on was I did the All-Star Game once.
Oh, fun.
And here's another, and this was in New York, actually. Here's another gem that I'll say, or earlier from what we were talking about as far as looking the part. I come in, they had been on set. I just started working at HBO at this time, but I had come on set and they had been there for 2 weeks already. I'm only there for the weekend, for the actual weekend of the All-Star Game. There's going to be the, dunk contest and the game and blah, blah, blah. And it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There were PAs there for 2 weeks. I get there and what do? They go, Natasha, Kevin Dobstaff needs an assistant for the weekend. His assistant can't be here. I go, cool, who's that? The SVP of live entertainment for the NBA. I go,
okay.
Why? Because I dressed the part, honey. I'm not kidding. Like, I know this sounds so crazy, and it's not even like I was dressed like, I had jeans on, I had like work shoes on, not like sneakers or whatever, work shoes. And I had on like a button-up shirt. I just look professional, right? And so I go meet him. I learned more in one weekend from that man in the way that I learned more in one weekend than probably, a good 6 months at the doctors all say that. You know what I mean? It was just incredible. It was incredible seeing him work. And he does the live show. So like, you know, anything that has to do with the production of the NBA, the All-Star games and like the performances, they don't do that as much anymore. But back then it was such a big deal to have these performances and all these different things. So yeah, so again, dress the part, baby. All right. So where were we? Okay. Live shows. All right. Now I'm over LA. I said, okay, you guys are hiring me for 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. At this point, I'd been in LA for 4 years. And either you know, they say you sink or you swim when you go to LA. I was treading water, you know, I was like, okay, I finally got a 1 bedroom. I stayed at the, you know, with my 5 roommates. It was 5 of us. I stayed there for a little while, but then I ended up getting my own place. And, you know, I had my own place for 3 years or so. And it was great. But then after that, I said, I never lived in New York. I think I should move to New York. My mom was like, you're insane. You've worked so hard to build all of these connections. And I was traveling. Like I was being able to travel to these different places. Like you get in a groove with people and then you kind of go where they go. Like live shows are always happening and it's everywhere. It's, you know, maybe it's this jazz show. Maybe it's a award show. Maybe it's a, you know, I shouldn't say all live shows because not all of them were live. Event production, I should say. It's really event production. There's so many events that are happening all the time. So I saw this and I was like, this is great, but it's 2 days, it's 3 days. I was at a point now where I had been there for 4 years and I wanted some longevity. I wanted benefits. You know, I was like, I need to go get a corporate job now. I think I've learned enough and I'm ready. And I had my eyes on HBO because they were the best. At the time, they were the best. I was like, I want to work for the best. I would take Showtime, but I really want to work for HBO because they're the best. And I need to work at the best because I'm crazy, right? So I put that in the universe very young, early on, and I just forgot about it. There was a gig. I started applying for jobs. There was this website, this like entertainment website that you can like apply for jobs. I started applying for jobs and I got this. It was a 6-week gig in New York for the 1,000,000-second quiz. The 1,000,000-second quiz. Where is that badge? The 1,000,000-second quiz. This, guys, it was so crazy. Wait, I have to show you growth because, hold on, where is it? I know there's 2 of these. Oh yeah. There's 2 of these. So, the 1,000,000-second quiz production, and then it says 1,000,000-second quiz talent. I'm going to tell you guys another gem. I went and got this job. It was a 6-week job. And I said to myself, okay, I am going to move everything into storage. My mom was like, you're insane. You're moving there for a 6-week job. What if you don't get a job after that? What happened? I said, hey, you know what? If it doesn't work out, I'll just go back. I moved out of my apartment because I am a plan A, no plan B, no plan C type of person. That's how I was back then. I've kind of, you know, life happens and you're like, maybe I should think about a plan B just in case. But back then I was so wild. I was literally so different than how I am now in a good way. I think because you're young and wild and you don't even think about anything but like what you want to do. So I moved everything in storage. I moved to New York. My aunt was living near Hoboken, so it was very close to the city in Jersey. And she was like, oh yeah, I have a 2-bedroom, like come stay with me. You do your job, whatever. It was great. So I started working there as a PA and I mean, making no money, like no money. And my hours were like 6 in the morning. We were on 12-hour days. So it was like 6 in the morning to 6 p.m. By the way, if anyone's listening to this, like, I want to work in television, the hours are crazy. Just so you guys know, they're crazy. And you have to love this thing in order to work in TV because the hours are so wild. So I was working from 6 to 6 and this show called The 1,000,000-Second Quiz was the craziest show. It was a pilot. It was the first season. After this, I was like, I'm never working another first season because you have to work out the kinks in television when you have a show like this. But it was basically the show. Ryan Seacrest was the host. If I ever see this man again, I mean, he is the most professional, amazing person to work with ever. And he'll be 1 minute, shooting the shit with whoever. And then the moment the camera comes on, he's like, hey guys, I'm Ryan Seacrest. And you're just like, how'd you do that? How'd you do that? How'd you do that? How'd you do that? He's so amazing. I am a Ryan Seacrest stan forever. And he's so polite and great. And like, you know, I'm like a little PA and he's like, hello, how are you? And we love that. So I'm like, they need a talent coordinator. So the reason why I showed these two things is because I went and had a meeting at one point. This is a 6-week job. After the first week, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do this. You guys need a talent coordinator. So, you know, be careful what you wish for, because I ended up getting that job as a talent coordinator. This was a 24-hour show, by the way. It was like a reality show and game show put together. My hours went from 6 a.m. to like 3 a.m. When I was getting my paycheck every week, the person who hired me, Amanda Zott, who also I'm still good friends with, love her to pieces. She was like, Natasha, how are you making more money than me now? Because my overtime was so much. Like because I was there. I literally lived there. I also did not know how to establish boundaries that well. So I started having panic attacks. Do you remember my panic attack mode?
Oh yeah. Overwork.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So I started having panic attacks. So I was going through it because, again, you get in this mode of like, you know, you got to show this, you got to show that. And then you also, I think when you're in the corporate world, you're constantly trying to prove yourself. I don't know if you feel that way, but for me, I feel like I'm always trying to prove myself when I had these jobs, like, and I can do more and I can do more and I can do this and I can do that. And I would always push. But again, you burn out, and that's when, you know, boundaries are really important. And I didn't really learn boundaries until I worked at HBO. But so after that, do that job, craziest job I've ever had, probably the hardest job I ever had. But after you do something really hard, you say to yourself, I can do anything. And that's how I felt. So I don't get a job for 6 months after that. And I said, okay. My mom's like, see, I told you. You're going to move back to LA? I just got an apartment in Brooklyn. Like, I'm like, no, it's going to happen. I know it is. I just felt it. I got a job at BET. I finally got a job at BET. Getting this job at BET, I was working in development. I was developing a show for AJ Calloway. He was the Free and AJ from 106 & Park. It was only a pilot that we were shooting, so it was only going to be for 2 weeks. But I still was unemployed. It was so I was like, maybe they'll hire me at BET. I worked my ass off. That's the other gym. Do more. Do so much more. There were 4 people on our team. We could have probably had 10 people on our team. I was like, I'll do that. I know it's short term. It's 2 weeks. I'll do it all. I ended up getting hired for 106 & Park. And if I'm being very honest, you know, in hindsight, I knew that I wasn't going to stay there long at 106 & Park because, again, when you're looking forward and you're like, it wasn't, did I want my boss's job when I looked at like the executive producers? It was more so, there was nothing but men at the top. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, there's so many women that work here that are in line well before me who just started working here. I'm never going to get there. You know what I mean? It felt like such a boys club in that sense. So I remember being like my cubicle, because I worked there for a few months, and I never like put anything up or like put any pictures up, and everyone had like all these pictures and everything. And I just knew it was short lived. I was like, oh, I won't be here that long. I know I'm not going to be here that long. So I start applying to other jobs like almost immediately. And I will say I met The Rock while I was working at 106 & Park. He was such an amazing person. He was an amazing person. I just have to say that. Just how you think he is, he is. He's amazing. So I ended up doing that. And when I did that, I started applying for other jobs. So I started applying to HBO because now I live in New York, and that's where the headquarters are. And I'm gonna work there. Thanks for listening to Hidden Gems with me, your host, Natasha Parker. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It really helps grow our budding community. Follow me on IG at Natasha Parker and the show at Gems with Natasha. Hidden Gems with Natasha Parker is produced by Gotham Production Studios.